Whalum, Tyree. Tyree as well. Thank you, brother. There may be a person in here who somebody's supposed to interview me, or should I just talk? Okay. Oh, great. I can interview you too, sir. So if you're under the delusion that history begins with you, then you should disabuse yourself of that illusion as soon as humanly possible. Because history continues with you. Is that like the president walking? Oh, I was looking. So history continues with you, right? So you are absolutely crucial to history. Right, we'll be dead and gone. Maybe not you, but history does not begin with you. And it's incumbent upon you, as soon as you possibly can, to realize that and plug in such a way which represents at least two things. One, a respect for those who came before you. And two, a commitment to take the baton and carve a path on behalf of those people, your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, your elders, carve a path that represents their hopes and dreams. But that's what your job is. But it has to be done in such a way where you are taking things forward, you're moving things forward. You're not stuck in history, right? You're not so enamored with the past that you're, frozen that you can't do your part. Again, so not asking you to be so humble that you are not taking the initiative to move things forward. You have to do that. We can't do that. But it begins with a knowledge of and a respect for what came before you and who came before you. So why did I begin by saying that? That's because I sense in this room, the greatness of potential. The fact that you're here and you're plugged into a timeless generational tributary of greatness, right? That extends far beyond this country, far beyond slavery, far beyond Black people in America and other, just Americans. It extends all the way back to the roots of our culture. And so now you are responsible. Don't panic, but you are absolutely responsible for taking these things forward and making new things out of them and just inspiring another generation, just like you've been inspired. I'm glad Kyle is here because I respect and admire the fact that this brother, I met him when he was 14, 15. Mm-hmm. And I had a feeling I'd be seeing him again. Certain look that he had when there was a respect, he was paying attention to what I was saying. And, here now, people are paying attention to what he says, not just verbally, but through his instrument, through his writing, through the way he deals with his family and friends and everything. So I want to now shut up and allow the brother to ask me anything you need to ask me.
Hey, first of all, we talked about history, and respecting history. Who were your influences?
Yes.
When you were carving your path
Yes, yes. Well, as I said here, and I'm going to bring some water up here. Someone was so kind to help me out. But yeah, thank you. So, man, coming here to Texas Southern was a big deal. From Memphis, Tennessee, and Memphis is one of those tributaries that's annotated in the global archive of where amazing things happen, where music happened. Memphis is one of those places, right? I didn't know that so much when I was growing up, right? But to come here to Texas Southern and be introduced to so many people who were, legacy makers, history makers, and to frankly just be blown away by all the greatness in this place at Texas Southern, as a freshman in 1976. I know, man, that's just a long time ago, but it shaped me in ways. It humbled me first, and then it shaped me in ways that, still today, I'm finding myself reflecting back on lessons that I learned and things that they taught me. And also, feeling like I needed to produce, because I was plugged into so much history, and I walked into Texas Southern, I met the great Arnett Cobb. Yes, Arnett Cobb. And, that's somebody who Kyle Turner, reveres alongside, me revering him. And Arnett Cobb is a world figure in this thing we call jazz. And he lived,
right down the street,
five blocks from here, if that. I can't know which way. And I was privileged to get to know him. Thank you, brother. And so that's what I'm saying. I was privileged to get to know Arnett, and it was a flashpoint for me in my own development to meet somebody in this neighborhood who was respected globally for doing the thing that I was here to learn how to do, and that is to play the saxophone. So yes, it changed me forever. And, I sit here still in amazement at what he was able to accomplish as a person who had a very significant, what do you call it? What's I'm trying to say? Handicap, right? He was on a crutch, for most of his life. He was in a terrible accident where his wife was killed. So I will say that adds another level of handicap, because now you're trying to do things without the one you love, right? So there's an emotional handicap of something traumatic and tragic. And Arnett Cobb would put his horn in his mouthpiece, and he would play his innermost pain, innermost fears. And young bucks like me, I'm listening to, 8th notes and 16th notes, and I'm trying to figure out what he's playing. But what I didn't realize, it was more about what he was saying that I could not decipher, because I wasn't fluent enough. I couldn't decipher what my mentor was trying to say through his instrument, because I was not fluent enough at the language of jazz, the language of music, to comprehend it, to be able to translate it. But I kept living. I hung out with him as much as I possibly could, to the point of being annoying. And eventually I began to understand a little bit of what he was saying through his instrument, speaking his pain, speaking his trials, the challenges of being a black man in this country, the challenges of being a creative, trying to make a living doing something creative, something you're passionate about. Those are lessons I'll never forget. And I guess by the time I met Kyle Turner, my remembrance of him walking by our little apartment, I was in college, carrying a horn case, I'm like, okay, how you doing, man? What's that you got? Saxophone. And the rest is history, so I'm gonna shut up.
So we're talking about the great Arnett Cobb, and we were talking about the importance of history, and then you taking that history and then finding something that that you can move forward and pass on to the next generation. That's basically what you were saying. So my next question, man, is that let's talk about your path. Okay,
Yes.
So Texas Southern University, you studied on, you was in the band with the great Ben Butler. You studied under Laura Hunter, an incredible saxophone teacher.
Yes.
And then Ronnie Laws was in the mix at that time, and then Bob James comes along. And hears you, and then boom. Soaring. So let's talk about that experience, man. How did you and Bob James meet, and talk about how it's good that when preparation meets opportunity.
Woo, what you just said right there. Thank you very much. We're going home now. When preparation meets opportunity, I think that pretty much says it. And the preparation part is crucial. And basically, it's about you being passionate about something, passionate enough to work on it in the dark, as it were, to work on it disconnected, unplugged from anybody watching you or being able to, give you props.
I just heard you say something a few minutes ago, that small room.
The small room. The small room. It's about the small room. It's about finding a place where, whether it's you studying, whether it's you doing research, whether it's you're practicing your instrument or your instrument, maybe your voice, your musical instrument, finding that place where you're working it out. And you're all about working it out. You have antenna up to try to absorb as much of the culture that's relevant to what it is you want to do, right? People who've done it before. What is the current, climate, in whatever industry you're talking about, like all of that. But there's this part of it that's literally you working it out, right? And so as you're working it out, you're just continuing. You don't perceive, it's imperceptible many times that you're getting better and better at it. Because frankly, whatever it is, what you're doing, it always feels like a slog. You're like, dang, I don't feel like I'm learning anything. But you are. And eventually, it becomes very evident because somebody taps you on the shoulder. And that's what Dr. Turner was referring to, is that I got tapped on the shoulder when I was just working at it. I was working at it, and I had gotten the opportunity to open a concert for the great Bob James, and look him up. He's 86, I believe, maybe 87.
Still playing too, man.
Still playing, still touring the world. Russia today, China tomorrow. But I was working it out, right? And in that context, I was working it out with my band. There's some seats over here if someone would like to come sit down. Make yourself at home. I was working it out. And I didn't realize that night that my life was going to change. And you might want to listen to this part. You're not going to realize it when a big break happens until it's happened. And for some of us, it will happen and you will never perceive it. Thus, you'll never be able to take advantage of it. But it happens while you're doing the thing you love to do, while you're pursuing the thing you're passionate about. Something's going to happen. And we call it a break. You can term it something else. But the point is that it's normally not going to happen because you're out networking real tough. Yes, you have to network, make yourself known. This is what I'm pursuing. This is what I like to do. I'm passionate about this, blah, blah, blah. So networking, meeting people, absolutely. And more importantly, serving people. People can tell, at this point, I can tell when somebody, they just trying to network up off of me and not necessarily interested in helping me at all. Whereas when I would walk down the street to visit the great Arnett Cobb, look him up, Arnett, A-R-N-E-T-T, Cobb, C-O-B-B, one of the greatest saxophones ever lived. when I would walk down the street just to put myself in his space, you know what I mean? I ultimately wanted him to give me a lesson or teach me something, but the fact that I would make sure that I was in his space, that was a thing that put me in a position to serve him in some way. Maybe little things. Can I get, oh, you need that? I'll go get that. Can I go to the store? There's a little sundry store, right? You know, can I get some coffee? In other words, you're about serving people, but they know you're there so that you can grow, you can learn something. And so I think, Kyle, you know, that was how when I met you, man, you know, I could see that in you. And I had no doubt that you were going to do something important, and you absolutely did. And you also had life stuff that happened that, like we all do, you know, and those things many times are designed to cut you off from your destiny. But you rose above all those things, and man, your legacy has been profound. And them glasses you got on is killing. Let me just say that.
Wow. So on that card, Texas Southern University.
Yes.
Bob James.
Yeah.
Then that first record, man, I was a student at Jackson State when that record came out, man, and I looked at that record with so much pride. I was like, that's my teacher. That's my teacher right there. And so some people would say, okay, you got your break, you arrived.
Yeah.
But how important is it once you get your break that you got to keep pushing, you got to keep working, you got to keep elevating? Yeah. That's a word that we use here at KTSU a lot, elevating. Yeah. To elevate and keep going and moving forward and keep growing. I remember one interview I saw Sonny Rollins, and it was after he retired. He said the thing he missed most about playing is practicing. Yeah. So that brings me to your practice regimen, because I remember calling you at 9 or 10 in the morning, and I say, hey man, what you doing? You said, I'm working on these scales. Yeah. So how important it is now that you arrived to keep moving forward, elevating, don't stop practicing, constant improvement and all of that. So how important is that, and would you share that with these students? Sure,
yes. And so I think it's important to highlight the context that you gave, and that is like, so now you've been working hard, slaving, and all of a sudden, you know, this thing happens, you know, it's a big comma in your story. It's your break or your breakthrough. And again, it may not be the only one, but it's the first, maybe significant one. So boom, it happens. Now what do? And so that is where the character comes in. So that's where the character comes in. So the people who have spoken into your life, it may be pastors, imams, family, uncles, aunts, whatever. Now is when that character comes to play. And you may say, well, I wasn't really paying much attention to them. Just take some time every now and then and think back, maybe use your phone and make notes about, wait, what's something that granddad always used to say to me? Grandma and grandmothers are notorious for this. She said to me that I wasn't really paying attention at the time because I thought, well, she's old. What does she know? She's boring me. So what are those things that they spoke into your life? Those things, if you do the sum of those things, is called character. And that character is what comes into play when you get a big break. Because now all of a sudden you have an opportunity to be big-headed, you know. So if your character is not rising up, then you will take that moment and say, hey, I'm one of them now. And you'll miss it. Because what you don't realize at the time is that it's not so much about what you did to get there, it's what you now are going to do to move forward. You know, when you deal with people with respect, it doesn't matter if they have something to give you, something that you need, you're going to respect them anyway. Because then later on, if they get into a position where they can give you something or do something for you, they'll remember that you respected them. So the things that translate into character will come to play when you get that big break. And that's what happened with me. Bob James heard me play right here in Houston. I was opening a show and, you know, at the Arena Theater, which is still here, I think.
Arena's still there.
And I remember distinctly, you know, the first time I heard him tell this story was the first time I heard the actual, you know, the actual sort of meat of the story. And that is that, you know, first of all, I was there to open the show. People would come see him, not necessarily me, but by then I had a few fans because I was doing my thing here locally, working my butt off, trying to portray and manifest excellence, right? And the thing I was trying to do, working hard. At that point, according to him, the crowd peaked when my opening act, my band came on. The crowd peaked long before he ever hit the stage. Mm-hmm. It's like in a given night, you know, you kind of only get one peak.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, no matter who it is on the bill. And because, you know, the audience kind of get tired. They got what I'm going to do after the show, blah, blah, blah. They get distracted. So the peak happened, unfortunately for him, while my band was on stage. Because we were thrashing. Okay? Because we had worked really hard at it, and we were very humble about it because we knew we had to. So, and that's a Texas Southern thing, let me say, you know, something I will absolutely relate to this school. Okay? That attitude of excellence and doing it the best you can. Well, guess what? The way he tells the story, the audience had peaked. He's like, well, this is inconvenient because I have come all the way here from New York or wherever they happen to have been before in Europe, and that ain't good. And so he said, I know how to keep that from ever happening again. He said, I'm going to hire this little joker. And sure enough, he did. And I found myself within a month, I was in New York. I was recording with him. I had never been to New York. I went there on a school trip. But as a adult professional, I went to New York, recorded with Bob James, recorded one of the songs I had written that he heard that night, song I wrote for my wife. Her name was Ruby. The song's called Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. And yeah, so that's my answer is that, you know, when the break happens, there'll be lots of them for you. Make sure that, especially that first one, that your character rises up and you begin to now operate with the gratitude and humility that that character represents.
Okay, so now we moving forward. The record, I think the Bob James record was called 12.
Yeah.
And then we move forward, then we had the Kirk Whalum record.
Yeah.
And moving forward, the Grammys, Stellars, and all these awards. But man, your work ethic is legendary. Al Campbell told me that at one point that the music building used to close at a certain hour. And that you guys, but there was another building on campus.
The English building.
You know what I'm getting ready to say. So it didn't have a lock on the door, but they had chains.
Yeah.
And that y'all used to be able to open the door a little bit and squeeze through the little opening. Yeah. And y'all were going there and practice all night.
Yeah, you know, if not all night, definitely 1 or 2 in the morning in the English building. So, you know, let me answer that by jumping ahead slightly and saying Whitney Houston. So, you know, I did this gig. When I moved to LA, I wasn't working very much at all. That's another thing you have to be prepared for. Please come in, have a seat. I wasn't working very much, but this gig I had record 2 out by then. I got a gig to play at a jazz club called Le Café, and I can pronounce that correctly now because I used to live in France, and I did that. Same thing, hard work. We can talk about that later. But here I am now with this bass player, Ricky Minor, and we're playing this gig, trying to, brother, you know, delivering the news, right? Doing what you do. The next morning, I get a call from Ricky Minor, and he said, hey, man, I didn't mention it last night, but, you know, of course, you knew I played with Whitney, right? He said, well, I just got promoted to MD, musical director. And they gave me a go-ahead to hire a whole new band to tour with Whitney Houston. And would you consider going on the road with Whitney? And I'm like, The wheels were turning awfully fast in this moment because, again, here I am, doing what Kyle and I do, trying to do my saxophone thing, playing my band, writing songs. They're doing the club days. They're doing this exponential growth, not exponential, but gradual growth. There's a word for that. And his brother is offering me to tour Europe, Asia, all over with Whitney Houston. But I thought, man, it's probably going to be, all this is happening within a nanosecond. I'm thinking, this is probably going to be the sacrifice of my Kirk Whalum thing, my thing I'm trying to do for myself and my family. But I have a feeling this is going to be the first time I'll ever be kind of on a payroll where I'm making like thousands of dollars per week. And my wife and kids, we don't have to worry about with this gig and that gig. And it all came to a head when I said, yes, I would love to do it. I'm very interested in doing that. But yeah, that's the way things happen. And now I look back and I was with her 7 years and I just finished writing a book. I'm so excited. I just finished it this past week called Reboot. And it's basically about, those ways that we have an opportunity to utilize all of that and do something completely different, if not completely, do something unique that's you're passionate about. So all those things began with that, again, so we call that the second break, where the way that I was asked to be in her touring band was because the brother saw something in me that represented all these years of slugging it out, working hard, trying to, again, work ethic, up practicing. We send the kids to school, I'm in there practicing. And so all those things factor in, but it has to do with the C word, character.
Okay, now, I want to go back in time
Yes.
from the Whitney thing.
Yes.
Similar situation happened with me. I'm grinding, trying to get better. And then a gentleman by the name of Kirk Whalum, who was touring with Luther Vandross, was on tour with Luther Vandross at that time. And you were with, I believe, Columbia.
Yes.
And I remember like yesterday, you had a record called The Promise.
Yes, sir.
That was coming out, and you had to go and promote that record. And this gentleman by the name of Kirk Whalum recommended to Nat Adderley for him to audition me.
For Luther.
So similar to the way that the baton gets passed based on your character, your work ethic, and all of that thing, man. And I, first of all, want to publicly thank you once again for that opportunity, because I learned so much from that situation.
Yeah.
But it started with you. I remember Todd Vulo.
My guitarist, yeah.
Yeah, he came in, I was playing a gig. He said, man, I'm letting you know that Nat Adderley is getting ready to contact you. I think you mentioned it to Todd.
Yeah.
And that's the way the Luther thing. So it's opportunity, preparation meets opportunity. That's where it comes back to. Yeah. And man, I'm forever grateful that that you passed that baton to me.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, you were blessed to, and I got to ask you this, man. Mm-hmm. Two of the greatest voices in Luther Vandross and in Whitney Houston. Mm-hmm. How did that affect you in terms of watching them work every day? And then how did it translate into your playing? Because you are one of the most melodic players that ever touched the horn, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
As you always say, you make the horn sing.
Yeah.
How, just two of the greatest voices of our generation, how did that affect you? And what did you see on a daily basis with those two great voices that's made a profound influence on you?
Yeah. Man, you start talking and the wheels start going so fast. I need like a secretary to go take notes, but say, answer that, then answer this, then answer that. Man, it's so much. It's so much. But let me say just about your Luther Vandross comment, that what he didn't say is that there were probably 8 or 9 saxophone players that Nat Adderley, Luther Vandross's musical director, had contacted and auditioned to take this spot that I couldn't do, right? None of them were, hey, well, I could play, right? Technique, absolutely. But that's this other thing, that's your heart, that you're doing what you do with such a heart that somebody like Luther, he's not impressed with the technique, though he has it. Oh my God, he's gone now. But what he's looking for is that heart. And so they all dumbed down. And then they asked me, I said, Carl Turner, right? He's going to bring the technique, but he's going to bring the heart. And that's the thing, that's the only thing Luther was interested in, right? He had to bring that. And you got to bring that heart, by the way, with a certain confidence. Here you are with the big break, and you're here with a big star. You can't punk out. You can't be like, oh, right? You got to deliver that heart with confidence. And that's what Kyle did. So anyway, I'm going to leave you alone. But what was the second part? You were talking about just, I told you the wheels turn too fast.
What impact with you playing with two of the greatest voices of this generation? Of our generation.
I think I kind of answered that as well, because I think when great singers, and there are a lot of great singers now, people like our age, they be like, they don't make them like they used to. Yes, they do. There's some amazing singers right now. I'm tuned in right now to this lady named Lubiana. Write it down. Lubiana. Lubiana is from Cameroon, but she was raised in Belgium. So she's métis, she's half. Anyway, but the point is that the thing about, great singers like Luther and Whitney that stands out is that connection. It's almost like you're up there serving the audience, as opposed to being celebrated by them for the great artist you are. They recognize my greatness. No, you know what your true role is, and that is to serve people, right? People come into that concert hall, they done spent their money, they are in all kinds of pain, financial trouble, and, all kinds of stuff, family stuff, people LGBTQ and the family done put them out. All kinds of stuff they bring up in there, and there you are with an opportunity to minister, to share, to bless these people. And there's something about that sets your voice apart. So when people hear your voice, it takes their breath away. And by the way, saxophone, the trumpet, bad brother, it's a voice, okay? What's coming through is that person's voice per se. Does that make sense?
I'm at a loss for words now, man. Because I did not know that was the process with the Luther thing.
I'm going to interview you now then. Let me ask you a couple. No.
Okay, so we're moving past, we done Luther, we've done Whitney Houston, and you're still grinding.
Yeah.
Still grinding. You moved to Paris.
Right.
How was that, man? And first of all, he speaks fluent French.
C'est vrai, mais est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un ici qui parle français? Je me demande un peu. Oui, d'accord. But so if I was speaking in French, si je parle français avec quelqu'un qui parle français, if I was speaking French with somebody who is French, they would say, comme ci, comme ça, he's okay. Mais je parle avec vous, mais ça paraît comme, man, ce mec, il parle très bien le français. You say, oh, he sounds pretty good. Mais je peux dire, I can say, quand vous travaillez très, très dur, when you work really hard, dans le milieu que tu te sens appelé, in the field that you feel called, c'est vrai que pour moi, c'est comme apprendre une langue. For me, it's like learning a language. Okay, whatever it is, media, business, law, bass, bad brother right there. Oh my God. Play with everybody who will never done anything worth playing. Brother, man. But whatever it is, that you've done.
You.
There's, it's a language, right? So you learn the language of bass. My son played bass. And so that language, how fluently you speak that language. Again, if it's learning, if you're in the law books, you're in the case studies, you're whatever it is that's your field, it's like learning a language. Et donc, quand tu te présentes l'opportunité de faire ça avec ceux qui sont vraiment notés, when you get an opportunity to interact with those people who are really noted in that field, ils connaissent immédiatement, they realize immediately que tu parles la langue très, très bien, that you speak that language very well. Okay? So, music is a language. When we learn, I can speak to a musician. Raise your hand if you're a musician. So we do have some musicians here. Mm-hmm. Music is a language. Okay? Et c'est-à-dire que c'est quoi? C'est pour quelle raison nous avons des langues? For what reason do we have languages? Somebody tell me. Somebody raise your hand. I know you know, but... Ma'am? To what? Oh, what is it? For what reason do we have languages? To communicate. Thank you. To communicate. To communicate, right? And so it becomes about commanding a language, in this case, music. Again, in that blank, put whatever it is that you do, that you're passionate about doing. Writing, drawing, painting. Maybe you're an écrivain, maybe you're a writer. But the point is that you have to pay the dues, just like all those other people who came before you, to learn how that language works, to get the grammar, the syntax, the vocabulary of that language, the saxophone. And then that determines how far you're going to go. And when somebody hears you who is in that upper stratosphere, they will know. They will categorically know. Ain't nobody gonna have to, you got your hype person. Oh man, she bad, man, she bad. I'm telling you, I heard, I see, you don't need that. They're gonna know you're bad. Because you have maîtrisé, mastered une langue, a language.
Okay, and I'm specifically talking to the musicians in here, the young musicians in here. Mm-hmm. So the ultimate universal language, in my opinion,
yes,
is music.
Yes, sir.
And that goes back to you living in Paris, mm-hmm. and what influence did that have on your experience in Paris? We know a lot of the great musicians like Dexter Gordon, Johnny Griffin, and all those guys. They moved over to Paris and didn't come back.
Yeah.
In many cases, Dexter came back, but Johnny Griffin, I think he lived in Paris the rest of his career.
A lot of them are buried there. Yeah.
What influenced it living in Paris and then just becoming part of that universal language of playing music, and then what did you draw from that culturally? How has it impacted you?
Yeah.
Into being the Kirk Whalum that we are right now?
Yes, sir. I will say, and I don't want to be too late. Let me know when I run out of time. I'll say that you could take Paris out and you could put another couple of cities in. Alexandria in Egypt. You could put in Athens, Greece. Those of you who are students of history, I love you. Because I love history. If you don't love history, I ain't got nothing to talk to you about. Alexandria, Athens, Paris, New York City are international cities. So basically the culture, the music, the art, the dance, the literature, all that stuff, it coagulates. It's in those big cities, those important cities, right? So yes, being there, I caught that spirit. I'll give one quick example, and that's that, I couldn't really work very much except maybe sit in here, sit in there, right? Because I wasn't, no, excuse me. 1 second. This is a big old world. I wasn't known in those places. But now I'm there. But the thing that I found out really quickly is that, you know, it's like a disease. You catch it. You're like, oh, I get it now. And the example is that, man, I went and I sat in with this Brazilian band in Paris, right? We got any Brazilian fans, Brazilian music? Beleza. So, man, I'm hearing them play. So shake the boom, get boom, get the boom, 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 get boom, get the. I was in love, man. I heard that rhythm and that music. It's African, right? But it's sort of distilled through all these other places like Brazil. I heard it. I lost my mind. But I wasn't in Brazil. I was in Paris. Just so happens that when those places develop, again, think about Athens, Greece, think about Alexandria. These are places, New York, where people gravitate because the opportunities are there, because the arts, those things are all represented. And so I get to Paris, and there are like over 1 million Brazilians living in Paris. One other thing you should know. There are millions of black people who live in Paris. Okay, millions of them. Many of them are from West Africa. West Africa was colonized by France. So there's, you got your language thing. But that all was like, I'm like, what? And I went, another thing, I love clothes, and I went, some of the sharpest things I ever seen in my life are Africans in Paris. Okay, who was at the avant-garde? That word, avant-garde, you heard the word avant-garde. Does anybody know what it means?
Like abstract.
Was that?
Kind of like abstract.
In a sense, but the actual translation is in front of the pack, in front of the rest. In front of the rest. Avant-garde. Avant means before or in front of. So the avant-garde, you find yourself in a situation, in this case, where Brazilians are teaching me by experience what that African pulse is like, what that music sounds like. And so there I was in France, in Paris, learning these international cultures, and it changed me forever. And like, I have a Grammy right now for writing a song. I don't have a Grammy for playing the saxophone. Maybe you and I will get one at the same time. No, I have one for writing a song. And that song was a gospel song called This Is What I Do. But the point is that inside of that song were all these influences from living in an international city. And may I be quick to say, y'all can tell me I need to go, let me know. Let me say that you happen to be right now in one of the most notable international cities in the world. Okay? When I moved to Houston, that unlocked for me a hope to go to Texas Southern, unlocked for me all this thing of Latino culture in particular. Este momento, yo decía, yo tengo ganas de aprender el español. Who can translate that for me? Is anybody who can? Sí.
In this moment, I would like to learn Spanish.
Gracias. Claro, sí. Entonces, podemos decir que esta puerta de información y deseo nació cuando yo fui aquí en Houston. De las puertas de información y maneras de tocar y cantar y escribir. Todo eso empecé aquí. Help me. Gracias. So, all that started, she's like, he's trying. All that started when I was here in Houston. So, you're in a place right next to you, right in this town. You have opportunity to benefit from Costa Rica, Cuba, all these other places where there's dope crazy dope music and film, and literature is open to you when you just get with the person next to you and say, "Enséñame, teach me some Spanish."
That's absolutely awesome. And as a saxophonist, living in Houston, being from Houston, I started feeling that as I got older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, because of course, when, like you said, when you're younger, you're like, what's normal to you is normal to you. Living in Austin and living in Los Angeles, and then coming back here, I have a deeper appreciation for all the cultures that are here in this city.
Yes.
So I definitely can, I definitely feel what you're saying on that. So Paris, you come back to the States.
Yeah.
And then all this, I mean, your solo career, man, in my opinion, like I said, to me, you are the most influential tenor saxophonist of my time. You know, you are definitely the most melodic. You make the horn sing. And it's evident even in your recordings, people feel what you're doing. So now, we're going to fast forward. By the way, the Donny Hathaway record was absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
And we're going to fast forward to Epic Cool. You got that hat on.
Yes, sir.
Great body of work.
Thank you, brother.
Great body of work, body and all that. But I want to go, man, to your growth. And I've seen you do this before, but I want to go to you're constantly trying to evolve. You're constantly trying to bless your music lovers with something different. What made you decide to record a song on baritone saxophone?
So I play tenor sax, for those of you who may not know, and baritone is this huge monstrosity of an instrument that's so inconvenient to carry around. But I recorded a song on baritone. But let me say, when we first came in, I asked who was involved in music publishing or any, intellectual properties, anybody here, law, music law, that kind of stuff. Okay, all right. So at least we have someone teaching it. That song, just so happens, is the title track, Epic Cool, and I played the baritone sax. And to write this song, many times nowadays, right, we'll take a loop or something we hear, and we'll write around that loop. Like that loop is the nugget of, I don't have to tell you, I mean, there's something I had to learn. Y'all are already doing this. But that's what I did with this song. I found this loop, and I wrote to it. And put the record out. And then I was contacted by someone who said, I take that back. I wasn't contacted. I saw this post that the person made. Let me just stop real quick and say, that's bogus. That's so foul. If somebody got a problem with you, rather than coming to you and they have your number, okay, if they don't have it on them, they know precisely how to get it within 5 minutes. But the person, posted on social media and said, man, what kind of thievery is this, man? And then he asked about the song. He said, asked his fans, like, can you believe that? What do you hear when you hear this song? And they all shot back, I hear your song. I'm like, I put my phone down. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm like, I took a loop that was included in a whole bunch. You know how you can buy loops of different, artists and so actually it's not artists because it's loops that are supposedly free.
Was it for Splice?
So that's actually pertinent to the situation. Where did I get it from? Honestly, I couldn't remember because at the time, as a producer, right, you're taking in a lot of information, and you have loop from here, loop from there, loop from there, and the stuff gets mixed up, and you don't remember. And it's not many times it's not in the metadata of that loop, like where it came from.
I only ask because there are websites where there's copyright free sounds and loops.
That's precisely what I did. Yeah, I went to a site that sells free loops.
Yeah, so he probably didn't copyright it.
Well, he did, but not under that name or in a particular name that I would recognize. And the fact is that when he heard it, it was 4 bars, and he said, "You stole, quote unquote, my song." And that's actually not true. But not only that, just to answer your question and say that, yeah, the way that I accessed this was through one of those sites. It's just that I just could not remember which one. And when I started looking for it, they had scrubbed it. Okay, so it was no longer in the bunch. So anyway, long story short, the brother threatened to sue me. And I called him immediately when I saw the post. I called him and I said, hey, bro, man, I'm sorry. I understand. And by the way, I take that back. When I saw his post about the song, I posted something that said, ain't that something me and this artist use this same source material, the loop, to write a song. I said, that's cool. We use the same. He said, no, man, that's my song. And I went, damn. And so sure enough, when I got him on the phone, he was not cordial. And he saw in that opportunity, to take me down a peg. And I said, listen, man, there's a simple solution to this. You have your song. I have the song that I created from this loop. I will give you 50%. I will give you your rightful 50% of my new composition. Right? So in other words, you have your composition. You're making that. I ain't getting none from that. But I will now say, since I didn't know, here you go, 50%. We share 50-50. I made a new song out of it. Out of 4 bars, I made about 250 bars. And I added melody. There was no melody on the loop. Okay. So it's basically turns out to be a collaboration. Right? And I said, so, man, done deal. He said, no, I want some damages. Yeah, I want damages. I said, okay. So then I passed the ball over to my folks, my legal people. And, we worked out with basically, it's kind of like there's standards, sort of amounts that if someone comes at you, you say, well, this is my song. So you have this amount of money that you say, you got it. Here it is. On top of the 50%. But he still was cussing me out, man. And again, it was such a big lesson to me. And that's important too, in terms of character. Go back and find out where you screwed up. Own it and do better. I did not document. When you're in the creative process, you're like, this is dope. So you're like, man, we're going fast. If you put something in a song, even if you don't ever use it, document the source.
Wow. So didn't know that one either. But what I want to do right now, man, is that we want to open it up to questions.
Yeah.
From you guys out there.
Yeah, we probably don't have a lot of time, and I'm sorry for that, but I get on a roll. But yeah,
no problem at all. Do we have anyone that have any questions for Mr. Whalum?
No. Okay, I'm gonna go. Oh, that's fine.
How did it feel to work with the greats like Luther Vandross and Whitney Houston?
Yeah.
Because I listened to the Whitney